The alarm bells rang through Station Hawking at exactly midnight. Ji-won grabbed his medical bag and ran down the metal hallways. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. He was tired, very tired. He had been working for 16 hours without rest, but that was normal for a medic on a space station. The alarm came from Section D, near the waste disposal area. Ji-won thought it was strange. Nobody went there except the cleaning robots. When he arrived, he saw nothing at first. Just darkness and the sound of machines crushing garbage. Then he heard it. A soft sound. Like breathing, but wrong. Too slow. Too painful. Ji-won turned on his flashlight. The light cut through the darkness. His heart stopped when he saw what was making the sound. A creature lay in the disposal chute. It was massive. Bigger than any animal Ji-won had ever seen. The creature had fur covered in spots that shined different colors even in the dark. Its body was shaped like a leopard from Earth, but much larger. Its head alone was the size of Ji-won's entire chest. 4 powerful legs lay twisted at wrong angles. Blood pooled beneath it. The creature's eyes opened. They were golden, beautiful. They looked at Ji-won with an intelligence that made him freeze. These were not animal eyes. These were the eyes of someone who understood they were dying. Ji-won's hands shook as he pulled out his scanner. The device beeped and showed information on its screen. The creature was called a Vrath. Its species came from a planet far away. The scanner also showed something else. Someone had put the creature in the disposal chute on purpose. The log said a Vorkian trader named Rathgor had dumped it here 2 hours ago. Too old, the log said. Medical costs too high. Disposal authorized. Anger filled Ji-won's chest. How could anyone do this? Leave a living being to die in the trash like it was nothing? His communicator buzzed. Commander Hyunwoo's voice came through. Medic Ji-won, report. What is the situation? There's a Vrath here, Ji-won said. His voice was steady despite his shaking hands. It's badly injured. I need help to move it to the medical bay. Silence. Then Hyunwoo spoke again. His voice was hard. Negative. Vraths are dangerous predators, leave it. The disposal system will handle it. Sir, it's dying. I can save it. That's an order, Ji-won. Those creatures are worth more dead than alive. Their organs sell for good money. Don't waste station resources. Ji-won looked at the creature again. Those golden eyes watched him, waiting. Somehow, the Vrath knew this human would decide if it lived or died. Ji-won turned off his communicator. He dropped his medical bag and grabbed the creature's front leg. It was heavy, so heavy. The Vrath weighed at least 300 kilograms. Maybe more. Ji-won pulled with all his strength. The creature moved only a few centimeters. Come on, Ji-won said through his teeth. Sweat ran down his face. His muscles screamed in pain. He pulled again. And again. The Vrath made a sound. A low rumble from deep in its chest. For a moment, Ji-won thought it might attack him, but the creature did something unexpected. It tried to help. Its legs pushed weakly against the floor. Together, human and alien moved slowly out of the disposal chute. It took 20 minutes to move the Vrath 10 meters. Ji-won's back hurt so much he wanted to cry. His arms felt like they would fall off. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Finally, they reached the medical bay. Ji-won used the door controls to open it. He pulled the Vrath inside and locked the door behind them. Now Hyunwoo couldn't force him to stop. The medical table was too small for the creature. Ji-won laid the Vrath on the floor instead. He turned on all the lights and grabbed his equipment. The scanner showed bad news. 3 broken ribs. Internal bleeding in 2 places. Severe malnutrition. The creature hadn't eaten properly in months. Its heart was failing. Ji-won calculated that the Vrath had maybe 2 hours left to live. Maybe less. He worked fast. First he injected a painkiller. The Vrath's body relaxed a little. Then he started an IV line to give it fluids. His hands moved quickly, doing what he had trained years to do. Stop bleeding. Stabilize the heart. Fix what could be fixed. The Vrath watched him the entire time, never looking away, never making a sound of pain even though Ji-won knew his treatments hurt. I'm sorry, Ji-won said as he wrapped bandages around the creature's ribs. I'm sorry someone did this to you. I'm sorry humans haven't stopped this kind of cruelty in the galaxy yet. The Vrath blinked slowly. Its breathing became a little easier. Hours passed. Ji-won gave the creature more medicine. He cleaned its wounds. He checked its vital signs every few minutes. Slowly, very slowly, the Vrath's condition improved from critical to stable. Dawn came. Light from the station's artificial sun filled the medical bay. Jiwon sat on the floor next to the Vrath. He was exhausted. Every part of his body hurt. But he smiled. The creature was sleeping now. Its chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm. It would live. Against all odds, it would live. Jiwon's communicator buzzed again. He ignored it. Let Hyunwoo be angry. Let the station authorities complain. Jiwon had made his choice. He had saved a life that everyone else said wasn't worth saving. The Vrath's eyes opened. They looked at Jiwon with what seemed like gratitude. The creature moved its head slightly and rested it near Jiwon's leg. It was a gesture of trust. Of peace, Jiwon placed his hand gently on the creature's head. The fur was soft despite being matted with old blood and dirt. "You're safe now," he whispered. "Nobody will throw you away again. I promise." Outside the medical bay, he could hear footsteps, angry voices. Commander Hyunwoo was coming. But Jiwon didn't move. He stayed with the creature he had saved. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The Vrath closed its eyes again. For the first time in a very long time, it felt something it had forgotten. Hope. This strange human with gentle hands had done what no one else would do. He had seen a person where others saw garbage, and that changed everything. 3 weeks passed since Jiwon saved the Vrath. The creature was still in the medical bay. It was getting stronger every day. The broken ribs were healing. The internal bleeding had stopped. But the creature refused to eat unless Jiwon was the one feeding it. Nurse Minji found this strange. She tried many times to give the Vrath food. Each time, the creature turned its head away. Its golden eyes would search the room until it found Jiwon. Only then would it eat. "I don't understand," Minji said one morning. She held a bowl of protein mixture that cost 50 credits. The Vrath ignored it completely. "It's like it only trusts you," Jiwon smiled. He took the bowl from Minji and knelt beside the creature. Immediately, the Vrath began eating. Its rough tongue licked the bowl clean in seconds. "Maybe it remembers who saved it," Jiwon said softly. He scratched behind the creature's ear. The Vrath made a rumbling sound that almost seemed like a cat's purr. Jiwon had named the creature Duri. It meant two in his language. Two lives bound together. Two beings who had found each other in the darkness. Commander Hyunwoo was not happy about the situation. He visited the medical bay every few days to complain. "That thing is eating more food than 5 humans," he said. "And it takes up space we need for actual patients." "Duri is an actual patient," Jiwon replied calmly. He had learned not to get angry at Hyunwoo's words. The commander was just worried about resources. And he's almost recovered. Another week and he'll be able to leave the medical bay. And go where? Hyunwoo crossed his arms. "You can't keep a 300-kilogram predator as a pet, Jiwon." Jiwon looked at Duri. The creature was watching their conversation with intelligent eyes. "I don't think Duri is a pet," he said quietly. Something strange had been happening. Duri followed Jiwon everywhere now. When Jiwon walked through the station corridors, the massive creature moved silently behind him. When Jiwon treated other patients, Duri lay in the corner and watched. When Jiwon slept in his quarters, Duri slept on the floor beside his bed. Other species on the station gave them lots of space. Jiwon noticed how aliens from different worlds would stop and stare when they saw him with Duri. Some looked scared, but others looked surprised, even respectful. One day, a Vorkian merchant approached Jiwon in the corridor. The alien had 4 arms and blue skin. It spoke in a translator device. "Human," it said. "Do you know what walks beside you?" "His name is Duri," Jiwon answered. "No, I mean, do you know what his species is?" "What they mean?" Jiwon shook his head. The Vorkian's eyes widened. "That is a hunter of the void. His kind are legendary. When a hunter bonds with someone, the bond is absolute, forever. You saved his life. Now he has chosen you. He will follow you until death takes one of you." Jiwon felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Duri. The creature gazed back at him with those golden eyes that seemed to understand everything. That afternoon, a xenobiologist named Taehi came to the medical bay. He was excited. "Very excited, Jiwon. I need to run tests on your Vrath. I've been researching his species. The things I've found are incredible." Jiwon agreed. Taehi spent 3 hours scanning Duri with different machines. The Vrath stayed calm the entire time, even though some of the tests must have been uncomfortable. Finally, Taehi showed Jiwon his results. "Look at this," he said, pointing at a screen. Vraths have a highly developed brain structure. The areas responsible for empathy, problem-solving, and language comprehension are massive. Bigger than in most known species. What does that mean? Jiwan asked. It means Duri isn't just smart for an animal. He might be as intelligent as we are. Maybe more intelligent in some ways. He can understand complex speech. He can feel emotions deeply. He can make decisions based on abstract concepts like loyalty and justice. Jiwan sat down slowly. He thought about the past 3 weeks. How Duri always seemed to understand what he was saying. How the creature knew when Jiwan was sad or tired. How Duri would bring him tools before Jiwan even asked for them. He's sentient, Jiwan whispered. Yes, Tehi said. I believe he is. And if Duri is sentient, then keeping his species as property is slavery. The word hung in the air like a dark cloud. Slavery. One of humanity's greatest shames from their own history. And here in space, among the stars, it was still happening. Tehi had one more thing to show Jiwan. I built this, he said, holding up a collar. It wasn't a normal collar. It had a small device attached. It's a translation collar. If Duri is sentient, he should be able to use it to speak. Jiwan's hands trembled as he took the collar. He approached Duri slowly. Would you let me put this on you, he asked. It might help you talk to us. Duri lowered his massive head. Allowing it. Trusting. Jiwan carefully placed the collar around Duri's neck. The device beeped and turned on. For a moment nothing happened, then Duri opened his mouth. The translator crackled. A voice came out. It was deep and rough but clear. Real words, you saved. Worthless one, why? The medical bay went silent. Minji gasped. Tehi's eyes went wide. Even Hyunwoo, who had just entered the room, froze in shock. Jiwan felt tears in his eyes. He knelt down so he was at eye level with Duri. You're not worthless, he said firmly. Every life has worth. Every life deserves kindness. I saved you because it was the right thing to do. Duri stared at him. The golden eyes glistened. Master. Threw Duri away. Said Duri was broken, old, useless, cost too much to feed. That wasn't a master, Jiwan said. Anger filled his voice. That was a slave owner. And he was wrong. You're not broken. You're not useless. You're a person. Person? Duri's voice sounded confused. Yes, a person. Someone who thinks and feels. Someone who deserves respect and freedom. Duri was quiet for a long time. His head moved closer to Jiwan. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. No one ever called Duri a person before. Something wet dripped from Duri's eyes. Tears. The creature was crying. Jiwan wrapped his arms around Duri's massive neck. He didn't care that his commander was watching. He didn't care what anyone thought. This being had suffered so much, had been treated like garbage, and now finally someone was telling him the truth. You're a person, Duri, Jiwan said again. And you're my friend. Duri made a sound. Not a growl or a purr. Something else. Something that sounded like a sob. Friend, he repeated. Duri has friend. Hyunwoo cleared his throat. For once, the commander looked uncomfortable. This changes things, he said quietly. If the creature can speak, if it's truly sentient, then we need to contact the Galactic Council. This could be bigger than just one station. Tehi nodded. I'll prepare my research. This is going to shake up a lot of people. There are thousands of Vraths across the galaxy being kept as property. If they're all sentient, then they're all slaves, Jiwan finished. He looked at Duri. And slavery is wrong. Always. Duri pressed his head against Jiwan's chest. Duri will stay with friend, he said. Forever. Forever, Jiwan agreed. Outside the medical bay, word was already spreading. A Vrath had spoken. A creature everyone thought was just an animal had used words, had expressed feelings, had proven it was a person. The station buzzed with whispers and arguments. Some people were excited. Others were scared. A few were angry, especially those who owned Vraths themselves. But in the medical bay, none of that mattered. Jiwan sat with Duri and they talked. They talked about simple things at first, food, sleep, the station. Then they talked about harder things, pain, loneliness, hope. And for the first time in his long life, Duri felt something he thought was impossible. He felt free. The merchant ship arrived at Station Hawking on a Tuesday morning. It was big and painted gold, the kind of ship that screamed wealth and power. Jiwan saw it docking through the medical bay window and felt his stomach twist with worry. He had been expecting this. For 5 weeks he had known this moment would come. Dury stood beside him, looking out the window too. The creature's body was tense. "Master comes," Dury said quietly. His voice through the translator sounded afraid. "Former master," Jiwan corrected gently. "You're not his property anymore. Law says Dury is property. Master has papers. Official papers." Jiwan touched Dury's shoulder. "We'll fight this. You can speak now. You've proven you're sentient. That has to count for something." But even as he said it, Jiwan wasn't sure. Galactic law was complicated. Just because someone could speak didn't automatically make them free. There were procedures, courts, lawyers, all things that took time and money. An hour later, Commander Hyunwoo called an emergency meeting in the station's main conference room. Jiwon arrived with Dury walking beside him. Many people stared. Some whispered. A few looked angry. Rathgor was already there. The Vorkian merchant sat at the head of the table like he owned the place. His forearms were crossed. His blue skin looked darker than normal. He was furious. "That is my property," Rathgor said immediately, pointing at Dury. "It was stolen from my disposal. I want it returned immediately." "Dury is not an it," Jiwan said firmly. "And he wasn't stolen. He was rescued." "Rescued?" Rathgor laughed. It was not a nice sound. "That creature cost me 30,000 credits. I disposed of it legally when it became too expensive to maintain." "You had no right to take it." Commander Hyunwoo held up his hand. "The situation has changed, Merchant Rathgor. The Vrath has demonstrated sentience. He can speak. He has emotions. Under Galactic Law, Section 47, any being that displays clear sentience cannot be owned as property." Rathgor slammed his fist on the table. "Nonsense. I have owned that beast for 12 years. Suddenly it learns to use a translator and you want to take it away? I demand compensation." "You demand?" A woman's voice spoke from the doorway. Everyone turned. Lawyer Yoonji walked into the room. She was a human from Earth, known for fighting difficult cases. Jiwan had contacted her 2 weeks ago. "You demand compensation for losing a slave?" "It's not a slave. It's a Vrath. They are animals." "Animals don't speak," Yoonji said coldly. She placed a tablet on the table. "I have testimony from 15 different people on this station. All of them have witnessed Dury speaking, making decisions, expressing complex emotions. That's not animal behavior. That's person behavior." Rathgor stood up. His face was angry. "This is theft. I will take this to the Galactic Court. I will sue this station and everyone involved. That creature is mine by law. Then we'll see you in court," Yoonji said. She didn't look worried. The meeting ended badly. Rathgor stormed out, making threats. Hyunwoo looked tired. Yoonji started making plans for the legal battle ahead. Ji-won walked back to his quarters with Dury. The creature was quiet. "Too quiet. Are you okay?" Ji-won asked. "Scared," Dury admitted. "Master is very powerful. Has many friends. Much money. What if court says Dury must go back? That won't happen. I won't let it happen. How can friend stop it? Friend is just one human. One medic." Ji-won didn't have a good answer for that. He was just one person? What could he do against someone with money and power? 3 days later, the power went out on the station. It happened at night. One moment, the lights were on. The next, everything went dark. Emergency lights came on slowly, but they were dim. Ji-won was in the medical bay checking on a patient who had a broken arm. Nurse Minji was helping him. Dury lay in the corner, watching as he always did. Then they heard footsteps. Many footsteps running. The medical bay door burst open. 6 figures in dark armor rushed in. They carried stun weapons, mercenaries. "Grab the Vrath," one of them shouted. "Quick, before security arrives!" Ji-won stepped in front of Dury. "Get out! This is a medical facility." One of the mercenaries laughed. "Move, human, or we'll stun you too." They raised their weapons. Ji-won didn't move. He spread his arms wide, blocking their path to Dury. What happened next was almost too fast to see. Dury moved like lightning. One moment he was lying down. The next he was in front of Ji-won. His massive paw hit the first mercenary's weapon so hard it flew across the room. His other paw struck the second mercenary in the chest, sending him crashing into the wall. The other 4 mercenaries fired their stun weapons. Blue lightning filled the air. Dury roared and charged. He didn't try to kill them. Ji-won saw that clearly. Every strike was controlled, precise, disarming. Disabling, not lethal. In 30 seconds, all 6 mercenaries were on the ground, unconscious or too hurt to move. Dury stood over them, breathing hard. His golden eyes glowed in the dim emergency lights. "Friend is safe?" Dury asked. Jiwon realized he was shaking. Yes, I'm safe. Thank you." Security officer Sung-hoon arrived with his team 5 minutes later. He looked at the unconscious mercenaries on the floor, then at Dury, then at Jiwon. "What happened here?" he asked. "They tried to kidnap Dury," Jiwon explained. "He defended us." Sung-hoon's eyes went wide. "He fought 6 armed mercenaries? And won?" "He didn't kill any of them," Jiwon pointed out. "He could have, but he didn't. He just stopped them from hurting us." Sung-hoon walked around the room looking at the evidence. The mercenaries all had injuries, but nothing permanent. Broken weapons. No broken bones that wouldn't heal. "This proves something important," Sung-hoon said slowly. "Only a sentient being can show that kind of restraint in combat. An animal would have killed. A person can choose not to kill." News of the attack spread fast through the station. Within hours, everyone knew that Rathgor had tried to take Dury by force, that his mercenaries had attacked a medical facility, that Dury had defended not just himself, but a human and other patients. Public opinion started to shift. People who had been afraid of Dury now saw him differently. He wasn't a monster. He was a person who protected the weak, but Rathgor wasn't done. He denied hiring the mercenaries. He said they acted alone. He hired better lawyers, more expensive ones. He spread rumors that Dury was dangerous and should be locked up. Jiwon started receiving anonymous messages, threats, warnings. Someone said they would kill him if he didn't give up Dury. Someone else said they would poison Dury's food. Someone else said they would blow up the medical bay. Hyunwoo assigned guards to protect them. Sung-hoon personally checked their quarters every night. But the threats kept coming. One evening, Jiwon sat in his room with Dury. He was tired. So tired. Fighting this battle was exhausting. "Maybe you should leave," Jiwon said quietly. "Take a ship somewhere far away. Somewhere Rathgor can't find you." Dury's head snapped around. His eyes were shocked. "Friend wants Dury to leave?" No, I don't want you to leave, but I don't want you to get hurt either, or to go back to Rathgor." "If you ran away, Dury will not run," the creature said firmly. "Dury will fight. For freedom. For friend. For all the others still in chains?" "Others?" Jiwon asked. "Yes, others like Dury. Thousands of Raths owned by cruel masters. If Dury runs, they stay slaves. If Dury fights and wins, maybe they can be free too." Jiwon felt something warm in his chest. Pride. This being who had been treated like garbage, who had every reason to just save himself, was thinking about others. "You're right," Jiwon said. "We fight. Together." "Together," Dury agreed. Outside their window, Rathgor's golden ship still sat at the docking bay, waiting, planning. The real battle was just beginning. But Jiwon wasn't alone anymore. He had Dury. He had Yoonji. He had people on the station who were starting to care, and sometimes that was enough. The night grew darker. But in the small room, Human and Vrath sat side by side. 2 friends facing an uncertain future, ready to fight for what was right, no matter what it cost. The Galactic Court arrived on Station Hawking 3 months after the attack. They came in a massive white ship that looked like a floating courthouse. Judges from 7 different worlds, lawyers, witnesses, news reporters from across the galaxy. The trial was going to be broadcast everywhere. Millions of beings would watch. This wasn't just about one Vrath anymore. This was about every Vrath in the galaxy. Jiwon stood in front of the mirror in his quarters. He wore his best clothes. Simple and clean. Dury sat behind him watching. "Nervous?" Dury asked. "Very nervous," Jiwon admitted. "I've never spoken in front of so many people before." "Friend will do good." "Friend always does good," Jiwon smiled. Over the past months, Dury's speech had improved so much. He still sometimes mixed up words, but he could express complex thoughts now. He could tell jokes. He could argue. He could comfort. The courtroom was set up in Station Hawking's largest cargo bay. Hundreds of seats for witnesses and observers. Cameras floating in the air. A high bench where 7 judges sat. They looked very serious and very old. Rathgor sat on one side with 5 lawyers. They all wore expensive clothes. They looked confident. Jiwan sat on the other side with Yunji and Duri, just 3 of them against 6. But Yunji didn't look worried. The head judge was a being called a Trell. She had gray skin and 3 eyes. Her voice was deep and powerful. "We are here to determine the legal status of the Vrath called Duri," she announced. "Is he property or is he a sentient being with rights?" "Let the trial begin." Rathgore's chief lawyer stood up. His name was Prosecutor Hak-Jun. He was human, which made Jiwan sad. A human was arguing to keep someone as property. "Your Honors," Hak-Jun said smoothly, "this case is simple. Vraths have been domesticated for over 3,000 years. They are bred to serve, to protect, to work. My client legally purchased this Vrath 12 years ago. He has papers, receipts. Everything is legal and proper. He showed documents on a big screen. They looked very official. The fact that this Vrath has learned to use a translator doesn't change what it is." Hak-Jun continued. "Many animals can learn tricks. Parrots on Earth can speak. Does that make them people? No. This is just a clever animal, nothing more." Some beings in the audience nodded. Jiwan felt his heart sink. Then it was Yunji's turn. She stood up slowly. She looked at the judges with calm eyes. "Your Honors," she said, "I ask you to listen. Really listen. Not to lawyers or documents, but to Duri himself." She gestured to Duri. The creature stood up. He was massive in the courtroom. Some people in the audience gasped or moved back in their seats. Duri walked to the witness stand. It was too small for him, so he just stood in front of it. "Duri," Yunji said gently, "tell the court about your life before Jiwan found you." Duri looked at the judges. His golden eyes met theirs. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but clear. "Duri was bought when Duri was very young. Taken from mother. Put in cage. Master kept Duri in chains. Always chains. Never freedom. Duri's job was to look scary for Master's guests. Make Master look powerful. Were you treated well?" Yunji asked. "No, Master gave little food. Just enough to not die. Beat Duri when Duri was too weak. Said Duri was lazy, stupid, worthless. Did you understand what was happening to you?" "Yes." Duri's voice got stronger. Duri understood everything. Every word. Every pain. Duri dreamed of freedom. Dreamed of sky. But Duri was property. Property has no dreams. The courtroom was silent. Even Hak-Jun looked uncomfortable. "What changed?" Yunji asked. "Duri got old. Body hurt, caused too much to feed. Master said Duri was broken. Threw Duri away. In garbage. To die alone in dark. And then? Then Friend came." Duri looked at Jiwan. "Friend saved Duri. Friend saw person, not property. First time in life someone saw Duri." Several beings in the audience were crying now. Even one of the judges looked emotional. Hak-Jun jumped up. "Objection. The witness is manipulating emotions. This is just rehearsed speech." "Rehearsed?" Duri turned to Hak-Jun. His voice was suddenly sharp. "Lawyer wants to know if pain is rehearsed? If suffering is rehearsed? Duri lived in chains for 12 years. That is not rehearsal. That is life." "Duri's life." Hak-Jun sat down quickly. The head judge leaned forward. "Duri, if the court rules you are free, what will you do?" Duri thought for a moment. "Duri will stay with Friend. Help heal others. And Duri will speak for those who cannot speak, for all Vrath still in chains. Duri will tell Galaxy we are not animals. We are people. We feel, we think, we dream. Just like you." The courtroom erupted in whispers and arguments. Next, it was Jiwan's turn to testify. He told them about finding Duri in the disposal chute, about saving him, about watching him recover, about learning that Duri could think and feel and hope. "I'm just a medic," Jiwan said. "I'm not anyone special, but I know a person when I see one. Duri is a person, and keeping people as property is wrong. It doesn't matter if they have fur or scales or skin. It doesn't matter if they walk on 2 legs or 4. Wrong is wrong." Rathgore himself testified next. He was angry and defensive. "I paid good money for that beast," he said. "I fed it, housed it. It lived because of me. And this is how I'm repaid. By having my property stolen?" "Did you ever ask Duri what he wanted?" Jiwan's lawyer asked. "Ask it? Why would I ask it anything? Do you ask your chair if it wants to be sat on?" That answer hurt Rathgore's case badly. Many beings in the audience looked disgusted. Then came the moment that changed everything. A new witness entered the courtroom. Her name was Dr. Yunji. A different Yunji, this one was a xenoanthropologist. She studied the history of alien species. "Your Honors," she said, I have spent 6 months researching Vrath history. What I found will shock this court. She brought up images on the screen. Old images. Very old. 3,000 years ago, Vraths were not animals. They were a civilization. They had cities, art, technology. They were as advanced as many species in this court today. The courtroom exploded with noise. Judges called for order, Dr. Yunji continued. But they were conquered. Enslaved by a species called the Korvax. The Korvax destroyed all Vrath records, burned their cities, killed their leaders, and then they bred the survivors to be servants. Generation after generation, they tried to breed the intelligence out of them, to make them into animals. She showed genetic evidence, brain scans, archaeological findings, but they failed. Vrath intelligence never disappeared. It just got buried, hidden, waiting for a chance to emerge again. What we call domestication is actually genocide. Cultural genocide. They took a people and tried to turn them into beasts. The judges looked stunned. Even Hakjun seemed shocked. If this evidence is true, the head judge said slowly, then every Vrath in this galaxy is a descendant of slaves. And slavery, no matter how old, is still slavery. Rathgor panicked. Jiwon could see it in his eyes. His whole business was built on selling Vraths. If they were recognized as people, he would lose everything. He would face criminal charges. The trial was recessed for lunch. Jiwon, Duri, and Yunji went to a quiet room to eat. "We're winning," Yunji said. "I can feel it," but Jiwon felt uneasy. Rathgor looks desperate. Desperate people do dangerous things, he was right. That afternoon, when the trial resumed, something happened. As Jiwon walked back to his seat, a figure rushed toward him from the audience. It was Rathgor. He held a plasma blade, a weapon that could cut through anything. "If I can't have my property, no one can have it," Rathgor screamed. He swung the blade at Jiwon. Time seemed to slow down. Jiwon saw the blade coming. He couldn't move fast enough, then Duri was there. Moving faster than seemed possible for something so large. He pushed Jiwon aside and took the blade himself. The weapon cut deep into Duri's shoulder. Blood sprayed. The creature roared in pain but didn't fall. Instead, he grabbed Rathgor with one massive paw and held him gently but firmly. Not hurting him, just stopping him. "No," Duri said through his pain. "No more violence. No more hate. It ends now." Security rushed in. They took Rathgor away. Medics ran to help Duri. The entire attack had been broadcast live. Millions of beings across the galaxy had watched. They saw Rathgor try to murder someone. They saw Duri save Jiwon. They saw a beast show more humanity than its owner ever had. The judges didn't even need to deliberate long. 2 hours later, they returned with their verdict. "We rule that Duri and all Vraths are sentient beings with full legal rights," the head judge announced. "They cannot be owned, cannot be sold, cannot be treated as property. Any being currently holding a Vrath must release them immediately. Failure to do so will result in criminal charges for slavery." The courtroom erupted in cheers and shouts. Some beings were happy. Others were angry. But it didn't matter. Duri was free. All Vraths were free. Jiwon helped Duri to the medical bay. The wound was bad but not fatal. As Jiwon stitched it closed, Duri looked at him with those golden eyes. "Friend saved Duri first," Duri said. "Now Duri saves friend. Fair." "You didn't have to," Jiwon said with tears in his eyes. "You could have let him hurt me and escaped." "No," Duri said simply. "Friends protect friends. That is what friends do." And in that moment, Jiwon understood. They had saved each other. Not just once, but many times. In many ways. That was what made them more than human and Vrath. That was what made them family. 2 weeks after the trial, Duri's wound was almost healed. The scar on his shoulder would remain forever, but he didn't seem to mind. He said it was a reminder that some things were worth getting hurt for. Rathgor was in prison now, not just for attacking Jiwon, but for enslaving sentient beings. His entire business empire collapsed in days. Other Vrath owners tried to run or hide, but the Galactic Council was fast. They sent ships to every world, every station, every colony. Freedom was coming for the Vraths. Jiwon watched the news feeds every morning. They showed images of Vraths being released from chains, from cages, from lives of service. Some of them cried. Some roared with joy. Some just stood still like they couldn't believe it was real. "How many?" Duri asked one morning. He sat beside G1 watching the screen. The news says about 30,000 Vraths have been freed so far, G1 answered. They think there might be 50,000 total across the galaxy. So many, Dury said quietly. So many in chains. For so long. But not anymore. Thanks to you. Thanks to Friend, Dury corrected. If Friend had not saved Dury, none of this happens. Friend is hero. G1 shook his head. We're both heroes. Or maybe neither of us is. Maybe we just did what was right. The freed Vraths needed help. Many were sick, malnourished, traumatized. Some didn't know how to live free. They had been slaves their entire lives. Station Hawking became a sanctuary. Commander Hyunwoo, who had once wanted to throw Dury in the garbage, now worked day and night to help. He set up shelters, medical facilities, counseling centers. Vraths started arriving at the station every day. They came on ships. Some came in groups. Some came alone. All of them were looking for the human who had started their freedom. The medic named G1 and his friend Dury G1 found himself treating dozens of Vraths every day. Broken bones that had never healed properly, infections, scars from abuse. He worked until his hands hurt and his eyes couldn't focus anymore. But he never complained. Dury helped him. The large Vrath had a gift for understanding pain. He could sense when someone was scared or sad. He would sit with newly freed Vraths and talk to them. Tell them his story. Give them hope. It gets better, he would say. First day of freedom is hard. Second day is hard too. But then one day you wake up and chains are just bad dream. You wake up and you are person. Real person. One day a young Vrath arrived. She was small for her species. Maybe only 6 years old. Her name was Hana. She had been owned by a family who used her to guard their children. They had been kind to her, she said. But still she was property. Still she wore a collar. Hana was terrified of everything. Loud sounds. Quick movements. New people. She would hide in corners and shake. G1 couldn't reach her. Neither could the other medics. But Dury could. He would sit with Hana for hours, speaking softly, never forcing her to do anything, just being there, patient, kind. Slowly, Hana began to trust. She started eating, started talking, started believing she deserved to be free. Dury understands, he told her one day, being scared, not knowing what to do. But Hana is strong. Hana survived. That means Hana can do anything. Watching them together made G1's heart feel full and broken at the same time. Full because this was beautiful. Broken because there were so many like Hana. So many who needed help. One evening, Nurse Minji approached G1 with an idea. You and Dury work so well together, she said. You heal bodies, he heals hearts. What if you made it official? Start a program. An interspecies healing initiative. G1 thought about it. He looked at Dury, who was currently helping an old Vrath stretch his stiff legs. Would you want to do that? G1 asked Dury later. Help me run a medical program? It would be a lot of work. Dury's eyes brightened. Work with Friend? Help others? Yes, always yes. That's how the Dury G1 initiative started. It was simple at first. Just two beings helping others. But word spread. Other freed Vraths joined. Then other species joined. Doctors, nurses, counselors, all working together. They discovered something important. Vraths had empathic abilities that made them amazing at understanding patients' emotional needs. They could sense pain, fear, anxiety. They could provide comfort in ways regular doctors couldn't. The initiative grew fast. Too fast, they needed more space. More supplies. More help. That's when the galaxy surprised them. Donations poured in from everywhere. Money, medicine, equipment. Beings from 100 different worlds sent support, some because they felt guilty, some because they wanted to help, some because they had seen G1 and Dury's story and it had changed them. Humans especially sent enormous amounts of aid. G1 received messages from Earth, from Mars, from the human colonies scattered across space. They all said similar things. You showed us who we want to be. Thank you. You proved that compassion matters, that one person can make a difference. You saw a person where others saw property. That's the best of humanity. 5 years passed. The Dury G1 initiative now operated on 20 different stations. They had helped thousands of Vraths adjust to freedom. They had trained hundreds of beings in trauma-informed care. They had changed lives. Dury was not the scared, hurt creature G1 had found in the garbage chute anymore. He stood tall and proud. His fur was shiny and healthy. His voice was confident. He had become a leader among his people. When Vraths needed guidance, they came to Duri, but he never left Jiwan's side for long. That bond forged in darkness and pain remained strong. They were partners, friends, family. Jiwan had changed too. He was more confident now, more sure of himself. He had learned that sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking rules, disobeying orders, standing alone against everyone else, and he had learned that he was never truly alone. Because when you fight for what's right, others will join you. Maybe not immediately, maybe not everyone, but enough, always enough. One day they stood in front of a memorial. It had been built on Station Hawking, a beautiful structure made of crystal and metal. Names were carved into it, thousands of names. These were the Vraths who didn't survive to see freedom, the ones who died in chains, the ones who gave up hope, the ones who were killed by cruel masters. Duri placed his paw on the memorial. His voice was thick with emotion. They should have been free, he said. Should have felt sun on fur. Should have made choices. Should have lived. I know, Jiwan said softly. He stood beside his friend, his partner, his brother. But because of them, others are free now. Their suffering wasn't meaningless. It led to this. To change, does that make it okay? No, it doesn't make it okay. It just makes it matter. Duri was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke again. Friend taught Duri something important. On that first day in the dark when Duri was dying, what did I teach you? Kindness is not weakness. Compassion is not foolish. Seeing person instead of property is not naive. It is brave. It is powerful. It changes worlds. Jiwan felt tears in his eyes. You taught me something too. What? That being different doesn't mean being less. That having 4 legs instead of 2 or fur instead of skin doesn't change what matters. What matters is here. Jiwan touched Duri's chest where his heart was. And you have the biggest heart I've ever known. They stood together in silence for a while. Around them, Station Hawking bustled with life. Humans and Vraths and dozens of other species living together, working together, learning from each other. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems, still prejudice, still beings who believed Vraths were animals. Change was slow and hard, but it was happening. Young Hana, who had once been too scared to speak, now helped counsel newly freed Vraths. She was studying to be a doctor herself. Commander Hyunwoo had become a strong advocate for Vrath rights. He gave speeches across the galaxy about justice and freedom. Nurse Minji had opened a school to teach medical skills to both humans and Vraths together. Lawyer Yunji had won 50 more cases, freeing beings from different species who had been enslaved. The ripples spread outward. One act of mercy, one medic who refused to walk away, one creature who chose to trust again. It had sparked a revolution. Years later, historians would write about this moment, about Jiwan and Duri, about how they changed galactic law, about how they proved that sentience should be honored in all its forms. But Jiwan and Duri didn't think about history. They just thought about tomorrow, about the patients they would treat, about the Vraths they would help, about the work that still needed doing, because that's what they had learned. Heroes don't save the world in one dramatic moment. They save it in small acts repeated every day. A kind word, a gentle touch, a refusal to look away from suffering as the artificial sun set on Station Hawking. Jiwan and Duri walked back to their quarters. They were tired, always tired, but it was good tired. The kind that comes from meaningful work. Tomorrow, 3 new Vraths arrive, Duri said. One is very old. One is sick. One is angry, then we'll help them, Jiwan said simply. Like always. Like always. Duri agreed. They entered their shared quarters. It was simple but comfortable. Jiwan's medical certificates hung on one wall. Duri's collection of stones from different worlds sat on a shelf. 2 very different beings living one shared life before sleep, Duri spoke one more time. Friend knows what makes Duri most proud. What? Not freedom. Not being recognized as person. Not even helping others. Then what? That Duri was right. That first day when Duri thought, this human sees me,